Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of There's Your Shot. Just like last week, this week is going to be focusing on traveling to the island of Kauia in the Hawaiian island chain. This time we're going to go over more in depth what to expect as you're traveling into the island, the kind of things you can see, the options you have, just general logistics of getting around the island and seeing various sites. I spent about a week on the island. For me, I personally believe that a week is the minimum amount of time to see the majority of the island. There's still a lot I didn't get to see, and I would love the opportunity to go back and give it another shot. But I do feel that I was able to see at least a hefty amount of the material that this island did provide. So first and foremost, this island, it's purely a natural wonder. This is not the kind of island where you go to see the resort towns or resort communities or large-scale resort hotels. Or the nightlife is also not something you'd go to this island specifically to find. This island is purely about natural scenery, hiking, getting back to nature, and just enjoying natural beauty of this specific island. To begin, if you do fly into the island, the chances are you are going to be flying into the city of Lahaina at the Lahaina International Airport. This city is located in the southeastern corner of the island. And the city itself is not very large, but it does act as a nice central hub to use as a jump-off point to the rest of the island. The first part of the island that we're going to talk about is Waimea Canyon State Park. Waimea State Park houses Waimea Canyon, which is what is highlighted in the first few sections of the video that I'm showing right now. Waimea Canyon is also known as the Grand Canyon of the Pacific, and for good reason. It is a very, very large canyon that's carved through volcanic rock and features a large amount of very lush rainforest vegetation, which makes it stand out against the bright red coloration of the canyon walls themselves. The state park itself features a few overlooks as well as several hikes that are worth going into and exploring various aspects of the canyon. The region is actually made up of two separate state parks. The first one is Waimea Canyon. The second one is Kokee State Park. Kokee State Park forms a transitionary zone between Waimea Canyon and Na Pali Coast, which I featured on the previous video last week and also go over a little bit more on this video. Kokee State Park, the primary highlight that most people go to when they go to the park is the Kauia Lookout vantage point. What this vantage point is, it's a top-down view of the Kauia Valley, and features a absolutely breathtaking view of the canyon walls going into the valley with the Pacific Ocean bright blue in the background. The Kauia point is actually the viewpoint that we're looking at in the video right now. One of the very nice things about the island of Kauia is not only are you able to get a very easy access point to the Kauia Valley and see this bird's eye view, but the island in general also offers several vantage points of seeing this incredible region known as the Na Pali Coast. In my time there, not only was I able to see this bird's eye look from Kokee State Park, but on the other side of the island, if I go to Na Pali Coast State Park, I'm able to hike what is called the Kauia Trail. Keep in mind this is a very difficult trail, so I would not recommend beginning this without adequate preparation. But the Kauia Trail is a 22-mile round-trip trail that does take you to the base of this valley that we're looking at right now. In addition to this, there's also guide services available that will allow you to kayak the Na Pali Coast, so you'll be able to see the Kauia Valley by sea. And once again, very, very amazing scenery, very, very amazing sights to be able to see this from a sea vantage point, as well as a land option through the trail, as well as a bird's eye option from the Kauia point. There's many tour boats that, even if you don't feel like kayaking, will simply take you out and either allow you to snorkel around the area or just give you a boat tour of the Na Pali State Coast recreational area, including the Kauia Valley. So there's definitely options for any skill level, any fitness level to be able to see various aspects of this amazing region. Before we move on from the region of Waimea, I would like to give one special shout out to a grocery store in the town of Waimea known as Ishihara Market. This supermarket was pointed out to me by one of my guides, actually specifically the guide who took me kayaking around the Na Pali Coast, and he claim that this is some of the best poke that the island has to offer. What essentially is, it's a delicatessen style setup in the back of the supermarket that has a large variety of poke, anything from soft shell crabs to octopus to squid to scallops to lobster. And his claim was very, very justified. I got to go there 2 times in a row. Both times the selection was simply amazing. I had a lobster poke that I'm still craving to this day. The ahi tuna poke there was incredible. So if you are using Waimea town as a jumping off point into the park, this is a store that is an excellent place to stock up on some food, a quick snack before you explore the canyon itself. The next region I'm talking about is the city of Popoi that's on the southern coast of the island of Kauai. This is as close to a resort community as the island of Kauai has. The resorts here, they're not as large as the ones you expect on Honolulu or Maui, but they are still very comfortable and have a fair amount of amenities if that's the type of vacation that you prefer. Popoi is located about a half-hour drive away from the Kokee airport. The entire island, it's not particularly big. To get from Waimea Canyon State Park all the way to Na Pali State Park, which is essentially the 2 opposite sides of the same road circling the island, it's about a 2 to 2.5 hour drive. So it is definitely possible to take a day trip and explore the entire island. It will require a fair amount of driving up that day, but it is very, very doable. The next region I'm going to talk about is a town called Kapaa that's about 20 to 30 minutes north of Kokee Airport. So Kapaa is a very nice local town. One of the things that stood out to me right away as I was driving through Kapaa is a very large selection of food trucks. These food trucks provide some of the greatest food I've seen on the island, and there's an incredibly large variety, anything from local Hawaiian food to Thai to Indian, as well as just about all the islands I've seen in Hawaii. They have a very strong Asian influence from a culinary sense. Due to the history of who was moving into the islands at the time. Because of this, there's a very large amount of Thai food, some Filipino influence, Malaysian, Japanese, Chinese. You'll find a very large variety as well as fusion within these islands, and a great place to sample a large variety in one central location is in Kapaa. Purely by going to the different food trucks, just bounce around, you'll easily find a food truck that stands out to you as you're exploring this town. One thing that I do want to talk about this town that actually did help me out quite a few times is a Safeway, a national chain called Safeway Supermarkets that is located in this town. The main reason I want to point this out is because this Safeway is open 24/7, and it's one of the very few businesses on the island that is open 24/7. A lot of restaurants here do tend to close early. This is a very family-oriented town, very family-oriented island in general. So a lot of the places do tend to close fairly early, anywhere between as early as 7, and typically most of the towns don't stay up past 9, maybe 10. So if you're coming home from a particular hike or a particular long venture on the island, places like Safeway is your best bet for where you can still get food at any time of day. One very popular attraction in the town of Kapaa, or very close to the town of Kapaa, is a region known as Wailua River State Park, and I apologize in advance, I'm likely not pronouncing that name correctly. But what this is, it's a state park that a lot of people choose to kayak around. It provides a great river, fresh water, and many kayak rentals, as well as tour guide services that'll take you to various parts of the park system with very calm water, very easy beginner level kayak experience. One of the most popular spots, or one of the most popular routes on this in the state park, is to the Wailua Falls, which is a waterfall in the middle of the park. What most people choose to do is kayak in for a few miles, park their kayak on a specific riverbank, and then hike it's less than 2 miles round trip, I would say, to Wailua Falls, which is a incredible waterfall with a very nice swimming hole that's attached to it. It's an excellent place to get lunch, spend an hour or two one of the nice experience and relatively accessible waterfalls on the island, so it's well worth a trip if you're feeling adventurous enough for a kayak and hike experience for a day. The final section of Kauai Island that I was going to talk about is the region of Princeville as well as Haena. I won't go into too much detail about these two regions simply because I already covered them last week in the video featuring the Na Pali Coast region. But I'll just give it a quick summary. These two areas, they're fairly close to one another, roughly about 10 minutes apart and a little under an hour away from Kokee if you're driving north. Princeville is not quite a resort community, but more of a tourist, comfortable region with a very good central destination to a lot of very nice beaches, such as the beach of Haena. If you keep driving further north and a bit more to the east, you'll arrive at the town of Haena, which is typically used as the jumping off point to Na Pali Coast State Recreational Area or Na Pali State Coastal Area. This is primarily also a small town that has a very great beach called Haena right on the edge of it. This is where I use as a jumping off point when I kayaked through the Na Pali Coast, going from the town of Haena at the Haena Beach launch point and wound up on the other side of the island at Kokee State Park. This was in total a 22-mile kayak experience, which if you are feeling adventurous, it is well worth it. However, keep in mind it is a very long and difficult kayak, so if you do it, it's best idea to be in shape for it and to be well prepared for it before you actually begin the trip itself.